Oh, shit. He just don't give a anymore, man.
He's been talking about ending birthright citizenship since 2015. This is not new.
14th Amendment, though, says that, quote, all persons born in the United States are citizens. Can you get around the 14th Amendment with an executive action?
Get a change.
That's it. Just gonna change it. Oyster birthright was a bit of an exploit. If the United States was a video game, there would be a patch fixing that exploit. Let's be honest.
An exploit that was like explicitly laid out in the Constitution. But if you're born in the country, you're afforded rights. That's like a fundamental idea of America, right? Asmongold is glazing Donald Trump for the interview that he gave on MSNBC. Let's see what's going on here.
Trump plans on deporting people that have illegal parents. Uh-oh, here we go.
4 million families in America who have mixed immigration status. So I'm talking about parents who might be here illegally, but the kids are here legally. Your borders are.
You're talking about separation.
Yeah, well, I mean, there are two aspects to this. Your borders are, Tom Homan said, they can be deported together. Correct. Is that the plan?
Well, that way you keep the well, I don't.
You keep the family together.
I don't understand the I don't want to be a prude, you know what I mean? I don't want to be a prude and like shit on people for having senses of humor, but you can't deport people that are here legally. If you have a family that lives in the city or whatever, and then, you know, the dad, the patriarch or whatever, he doesn't have his proper documentation, you can't, but everybody else there is a naturalized citizen or someone that was born in the country, you can't deport them. It's not a thing. You can't do that. You have no authority to do that.
He just don't give a anymore, man.
I want to be breaking up families. So the only way you don't break up the family is you keep them together, and you have to send them all back.
Even kids who are here legally?
Well, what you going to do if they want to stay with the father? Look, we have to have rules and regulations. You can always find something out, like, you know, this doesn't work, that doesn't work.
Yeah. One of the rules is if you're born in the United States, you're an American. You can't be deported.
I'll tell you what's going to be horrible. When we take a wonderful young woman who's with a criminal, and they show the woman, and she could stay by the law, but they show the woman being taken out, or they want her out, and your cameras are focused on her as she's crying, as she's being taken out of our country, and then the public turns against us. But we have to do our job, and you have to have a series.
Man, he's writing a fan fiction. What's he saying? Well, basically, here's what they're gonna do. Like,
oh God, what take is he about to hit us with, guys?
I can see if there's any more of these posts here too, because there's been a lot going on. I never really watched the rest of this. Let me see if I can find it, and I'll scroll down. Give me a minute. But yeah, he did an interview, and oh man, I think this is it, right?
I'm talking about parents who might be here illegally, but the kids are here legally.
Yeah, that's the same one. Let me make sure if I can find the other ones. Oh, there's this.
They're subsidizing Canada to the tune of over $100 billion a year. We're subsidizing Mexico for almost $300 billion. We shouldn't be subsidizing. Why are we subsidizing these countries? If we're going to subsidize them, let them become a state.
What are we even talking about? Subsidizing Mexico? Is he talking about a trade deficit? Like, what's he talking about? Mexico's annual budget. Mexico's annual budget is right around 200 billion US dollars. An increase from 160. The government aims to reduce the budget deficit to 3.9% of GDP from an estimated 5.9%. And Trump is alleging that we're just giving them all that $200 billion a year.
We're subsidizing Mexico, and we're subsidizing Canada, and we're subsidizing many.
Wait, hold on a second. Are we not still bound to the same trade agreement that he signed into law? The USMCA? We got rid of NAFTA, and then his administration drafted a new trade policy, which was not that much different from NAFTA, if I remember correctly. His administration is the one that set the terms for our trade agreement, and now he's saying like, oh, they're screwing us on this trade agreement. How does that make any sense?
Countries all over the world. And all I want to do is I want to have a level, fast, but fair playing field.
There are 20 states that still have the federal minimum wage at $7.25. And I actually have a map. 19 of these states actually voted for you, sir.
Yep.
and you can see
Right.
it right here. I don't know if you
Right.
remember this, but during the debate in
I
2020,
don't, dude. She's being so obnoxious. She's trying to eat.
What is he saying?
You see, like she's trying to get him mad.
I asked you
Yeah.
if you would raise the minimum wage. You said you would consider it.
Yeah.
And so my question for you is, now that you are going back to the White
Trying to get him mad. She was using kid gloves for this entire interview. He said some egregious lies, and she did not push back on like 5 enormous lies.
House, for these 19
Well-
states that voted for you, are you going to raise the federal
It's a very low
minimum wage?
number. I will agree. It's a very low number. Let me give you the downside, though.
Yeah.
In California, they raised it up to a very high number, and your restaurants are going out of business all over the place.
knows?
They're not. This is just a lie. The restaurant industry in California is growing.
population is shrinking. It's had a
It's
very
not. It went up last year.
negative impact. But there is a level at which you could do it, absolutely. Yeah.
What is that level? Do you
I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. I can say this.
Shouldn't you have an idea? So okay, it sounds like you identified what you believe to be a problem. You're saying, Donald Trump, you're saying that 725 is very low, right? So that's a problem. That, you kind of implied that it's too low, right? Like, so that's a problem. So you haven't thought about a number, $11 an hour. Let's meet in the middle, right?
You have a lot of businesses that are open and thriving because of the lower minimum wage. If you raise it too much, and you understand this, if California went crazy, they went crazy. And the restaurants are closing all over. Many more people are hurt.
So I hear you saying, similarly to sort of what you said in 2020, will you consider it? Is this something you're going to look at?
I'd want to speak to the governors. And the other thing that's very complicated about minimum wages is places are so different. Mississippi and Alabama and great places are very different than New York or California. I mean, in terms of the cost of living.
In 2023, 10,608 new restaurants opened in the U.S., which is 5.7% more than in 2022. The restaurant industry is a thriving part of California's economy, contributing $2.09 to the state's economy for every additional dollar spent, generating 15.3 jobs for every additional $1 million spent in the state. Like, we increased the minimum wage to $25 an hour for fast food workers, and we're still seeing like the fast food industry in California is fine.
And other things. So it would be nice to have just a minimum wage for the whole country, but it wouldn't work because you have places where it's very inexpensive.
He's right about that. The thing, he's right.
To
Yeah,
live.
he is.
Trade deficits. What's he right about? Trade deficits, 41 billion with Canada, 162 billion with Mexico. Wouldn't you expect a trade deficit if you're trading with a country that has a GDP that is a fraction of yours? Wouldn't that be expected, right? And to the extent that we have trade deficits, again, his administration was the one that negotiated the USMCA, the current trade agreement that we have with Canada and Mexico. He is the one that negotiated that deal.
Where a minimum, it would be nice to have just a minimum wage for the whole country, but it wouldn't work because you have places where it's very inexpensive.
He's right about that.
We do have a minimum wage. But we do. What do you mean? We do have a minimum wage. You could argue that a $15 an hour minimum wage maybe doesn't make sense for a state like, I don't know, Mississippi or Arkansas or whatever. But we have a minimum wage. This is not a novel concept.
The cost of living wages is places are so different. Mississippi and Alabama and great places are very different than New York or California. I mean, in terms of the cost of living and other things. So it would be nice to have just a minimum wage for the whole country, but it wouldn't work because you have places where it's very inexpensive.
He's right about that. The thing,
We have a minimum wage. I'm going to Minecraft myself.
he's right.
To
Yeah,
live,
he is.
Where a minimum wage, which is $8 or $9, might be, might have very little effect because the cost of living in certain places is really low.
Yeah, no, he's totally right about that. Millionaires agreeing with billionaires with a timeline. Well, I think they should raise the minimum wage too. Actually, I don't really think I don't see.
I'm going to Minecraft myself. Okay, Asmon, like, what do you want to raise it to? Give me a number, right? Like, what do you think Trump should raise it to then, right? Like, my God.
See the point for raising the minimum wage because like people aren't really being paid minimum wage in most jobs.
That's true.
So like, I don't really think that's going to matter in a lot of cases.
Well, it matters to like, I think there's 2.5 million people the last we checked. I think there's 2.5 million people in the entire country that are still making minimum wage.
But
if you raise the minimum wage, that's going to have an upward effect on wages that are similar. So if you're in an area where, you know, like the average wage is like, let's say $11 an hour, but you have some people that are making minimum wage, and then the minimum wage goes up to $9, you would see some upwards pressure on some of these other wages right here as well. So it would benefit more than just the people that are making minimum wage.
I don't think it really makes a difference because you're going to have universal basic income in 30 years anyway. Like, let's be honest.
I would not.
You've promised to end birthright.
Treating UBI as an inevitability, I would not make that bet. I'm not sure we're going to get UBI in 30 years. What's the logic there?
Citizenship on day one. Is that still your plan?
Yeah, absolutely.
Damn. Oh, shit. Anchors away, yeah.
Asmon, he's been talking about ending birthright citizenship since 2015. This is not new. So like this whole like, oh my God, I can't believe you said it. He's been saying this since 2015. You can't do that. You cannot do that. You cannot end birthright citizenship unless you change the Constitution. That's how you do that.
Just changing that entirely? Yes. Just, yeah. Oh my God.
14th Amendment, though, says that, quote, all persons born in the United States are citizens. Can you get around the 14th Amendment with an executive action?
Get a change.
You've promised.
That's it. Just going to change it. Oh, man. Their birthright was a bit of an exploit. If the United States was a video game, there would be a patch fixing that exploit. Let's be honest. Of course. Yes, it obviously is an exploit.
An exploit that was like explicitly laid out in the Constitution. But if you're born in the country, you're afforded rights. That's the idea. That's like a fundamental idea of America, right?
Peeling and replacing.
When John McCain let us down by voting, and Murkowski and Collins,
every other country stopped doing it. I'm not sure.
Voted against, but they really let us down. They did us a great disservice.
I think when we looked it up, there were around 35 countries in the world that did birthright citizenship.
It was because we would have had great health. Obamacare is lousy health care. It's very expensive health care for the people. It's also expensive for the country, but for the people, it's lousy health care. When John McCain gave his thumbs down after saying for 10 years that he wants to repeal and replace, okay? And then he came out, put his now famous thumbs down.
I think that every solution for healthcare that's not single-payer systems is bad. Every solution that necessitates insurance is bad. It's like the window in which we're looking at solutions to healthcare is too small. And it's always been like this.
Is he gonna add some kind of a caveat here? Like, oh, this is one thing that I disagree with Trump about. Is he gonna like add further commentary to this, or?
Yeah, I'm just saying you should shoot the people that run the services, but I don't agree with it. Yeah.
And he became a hero to the left. Let me tell you, if we find something better, I would love to do it. But but one thing I have to say, I inherited.
They're not gonna, whatever. Maybe I'm not the best at predictions this year, but it's hard to imagine a scenario where Donald Trump would prioritize repealing the ACA because he failed spectacularly last time, and he found out that it's actually no small thing to reform healthcare. It's like a really, really difficult thing to do. Obama was the only one that successfully like really overhauled healthcare, and that was a long line of presidents. Literally every single maybe not George W. Bush, but like every single president that preceded Obama wanted to do something big on healthcare, and they all found out that it's really difficult.
Obamacare or anything else you want to go. It's got about 20 names, but I inherited it. And I had a decision to make with Health and Human Services. I had a big decision to make. Do I make it as good as we can make it, or do I let it rot?
Yeah, exactly. Can you explain single payer for normies? Basically, you're attacked.
What do you mean? Yeah, exactly. What do you mean? Donald Trump actively tried to kill and rot Obamacare. He tried legislatively, he missed, and he got rid of the individual mandate. Then he got rid of all the services that help people sign up in the individual markets. He did everything he could to hurt the ACA.
Taxes are higher and the government gives you health care. That's what I think the solution is. Because every Yeah, exactly. Can you explain single payer for normies? Basically, your taxes are higher and the government gives you health care. That's what I think the solution is.
Essentially.
Because so think about it like this. Every dollar spent on healthcare that goes to a private company, a lot of that money is paid out in dividends and big CEO salaries and payouts to other people.
That's right.
So there's a lot of
administrative costs that are an unnecessary burden
of excess money that the company collects because it's a for-profit company. All of that excess money is being added to the total amount of healthcare cost an individual has. So if you remove the profit aspect of it and it just simply existed to serve a function, then you would have lower costs because you would not have...
You would still have companies making a profit. You just wouldn't have insurance middlemen making a profit.
All of this extra money that needs to be made as profit. Just, it's so f***ing obvious. Yeah, so public healthcare? Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think that you should have private healthcare as well. I don't think that it should be illegal to have private healthcare, but people should be able to rely on public healthcare. The people whose lives really get f***ed up by healthcare are not the lower class or the upper class, it's the middle class. Because lower class people, and if you're really broke, you just show up to the emergency room. That's what you do.
Well,
like
I
had to take my mom to the...
You qualify for Medicaid. I mean, there's like, I think it's like 40% of the country right now to get healthcare through like government provided healthcare through either Medicaid or Medicare.
Emergency room probably 10 times. Every single time we'd get a bill, you know what we do with the bill? We'd throw it away. And then we go to the emergency room again and we get another bill. That's it. And it would just keep happening. And so it's not a big deal. And also, we had something called the MAP program. That's what it is here in Texas. And if you make under a certain amount of money, you then have your health care paid for by MAP, which is...
In California, it's Medi-Cal.
Like it turned your copay from being like my copay for getting dental work done, they like pulled out a tooth, was $10. Literally $10. Like you don't have to pay anything. And I could have also just walked out and not paid it. How is that not the same as government healthcare? It is. But what I'm saying is that the real squeeze on people comes from people that make too much money to qualify for government assistance, and they make too little money to be able to afford private healthcare without it affecting their budget.
That's right.
Those are the people that are very negatively affected. It's right. The middle, I'd say like probably 50% of people, probably maybe 70, 80% of people, really.
I think it's closer to 60%.
So yeah, that's my experience at least.
And a lot of political people said, let it rot and let it be a failure. Yeah. I said, that's not the right thing to do. And
somebody says free healthcare in Canada has issues too. What if I told you that we have issues with healthcare here? I used to think Canadian healthcare was really bad, until I asked a few people, and then they all told me like, no, it's fine. I've been there and it's okay.
So, dude, every time and there's probably some people in my chat that live in a country that has socialized healthcare, and every conversation I've ever had is like, yeah, sometimes the wait's a little bit long, but like, I don't get a bill and I'd much prefer my system. I would never want your system. I have never in my days, never once in all my days of the internet spoken with someone who lived in Canada or Italy or England and had them say, oh, I wish we had your system. I've never heard anyone say that. Anyone, ever.
I think that people having bad interactions is always true, but that's not something that's probably limited to Canada. And I know that like my mom had bad experiences with private healthcare here. Like that's what happens no matter what.
Very good people in the medical area that handled that. And I said, what do you want to do? He said, we really have enough.
I don't understand this commentary from Asmon. He's just like, yeah. He hears Trump say that Trump is claiming that he had a choice. He could either improve the ACA or let it rot. And he chose to improve it, which is just... None of this is true. None of this. He did not improve the ACA. He tried to kill the ACA with executive authority. He did everything he could to kill the ACA unsuccessfully. And Asmon's hearing him talk, and he's just like, every once in a while, like, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Obligation to make it as good as we can. And we did. We made it as good as we can make it. Instead of making it bad where everybody would be calling for its repeal, I made it so that it works. Now,
but you did try to overturn.
I did dislike the fact that Obamacare necessitated you paying insurance. I thought it was a government overreach. When a person is legally compelled to pay a private company.
Wait, come on. How does this make any sense? In one breath, you say, I think single payer is the only thing that makes sense, which would be the government compelling you to pay for healthcare through taxes. That's the only thing that makes sense. But Obamacare doesn't make sense because there was an individual mandate that mandated that you purchase insurance. What?
I think that's disgusting. Like, just
the point of that was the more people you have in a pool, like big problem with insurance that we had in this country before the ACA was that a lot of healthy people, a lot of healthy young people didn't feel compelled to get insurance because it was just this extra cost every month and they weren't really seeing the benefit of that because they were healthy, right? And like, but the whole point of like an insurance pool and then a pool of people that pay into single payer, fundamentally it's the same concept. There's just different middlemen involved over here. And so the way you drive costs down across the board is by making that pool as large as possible and incentivizing healthy people to sign up into a pool. Like, it was an imperfect solution to a very real problem in this country, but the purpose of the individual mandate was to drive costs down overall. That was the point.
Straight up, the mandate. Yeah, that's the main reason I didn't like it. Car insurance. I think car insurance is slightly different because you're using public roads. And so it's like you're basically like paying for the roads and you're affecting other people, and it's also for the other person and not necessarily yourself. Like, your car insurance is meant to pay for the other person's damages also. But also,
I gotta say, I don't quite follow this logic.
So like, I do have that viewpoint for car insurance as well, but health insurance, I very strongly believe that, and car insurance, I'm not as strongly motivated. Yeah, driving is, that's also a really great point too, is that you don't have to drive, but you do have to have healthcare, right?
Turn it,
It's
sir.
well, it's
you did
lousy.
try to overturn it. You did have your Justice Department try to direct the Supreme Court to.
No, we got a little bit of a surprising opinion, to be honest with you. If it would have been overturned, we would have had much better health care right now. But
if it would have been overturned, it would have just been right back to the system that was in place before the ACA. He didn't have a replacement system. It would have just meant the end of the ACA. That's what it would. So imagine what life was like in 2009. Okay, that would have been our health care. And almost, I shouldn't say almost, most people in this country agree that the healthcare system that we have in place right now, while it's flawed, is better than the healthcare system that we had in 2009.
right now,
unless you want to go back to a time where, you know, like you weren't allowed to stay on your parents' insurance until you're 25 and you could be denied coverage for pre-existing condition and there wasn't as many like Medicaid subsidies, like unless you want to go back to that, unless you think that was a better system.
have something that I made the best of.
And then he just sits here and he's just, yeah, that makes sense.
I could have.
We are so guys, we're so cooked. Young men, we're cooked. Okay. Wait, why am I saying we? I'm not young. You young men, you're all cooked. Okay. They're all getting their news from like Jinx and Kai Cenat and Asmongold. We're so cooked.
Made the worst of it, and it would have fallen by the wayside.
It's disappointing that they tried to make the best of it. I think they should totally throw it out and do single payer healthcare.
He didn't try to make the best of it. You're not listening. He tried to get the Republican Party to get rid of the ACA. That didn't work. Then he sicked the Department of Justice and he sued the government to try to get rid of the ACA. That didn't work. He didn't try to make the best of the ACA. It's just not true. He's just lying. It's just not true.
Like, I'm going to be honest, like, I don't really care what they do.
Actually, I don't know why I said Kai Cenat. Kai Cenat's fine. Whatever. I don't have a problem with him. It's fine.
Until they do that.
I did the right thing from a human standpoint. But, you know, I'm sort of proud of my decision. At the same time, sometimes I regret it. I told the people, and I gave them the money to do it. I said, fix it, make it work, because people would have suffered. Mm-hmm. But it's too bad that...
What do you mean? What are you talking about? He gave money to who? To fix the ACA? What is he talking about? He didn't do any of this. This is all, and like, it's part of this is on the interviewer, because she's not pushing back at all right now. And the shit that he's saying is just insane.
That they voted no. I wish John McCain, I wish he fought for 10 years on replacing Obamacare for 10 years, and then he voted against Nobody understands
Sir,
it.
you said during the campaign you had concepts of a plan. Do you have an actual plan at this point for health care?
Probably not.
Yes, we have concepts of a plan that would be better.
Still just concepts? Do you have a fully developed plan?
Let me explain.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't have a full plan. There's no plan. No.
We
Love this commentary, bro.
Obamacare stinks. It's lousy. There are better answers. If we come up with a better,
I think that RFK, what they need to do whenever he gets in charge,
Oh boy.
assuming that happens, right? Big assume. But they need to make it to where you can't take electives in high school that replace physical education, and physical education is mandatory for everybody.
Is it not already mandatory? Are there any schools that don't do PE? You can replace it with an elective? Maybe this is a thing? I've never heard of this.
Because the real issue, the reason why people need healthcare, they need more healthcare, it's because everybody's fat and they don't do anything. Like if you go back and you look at videos and photos of high schools back in the day, people were in much better shape than they are now. Like I see, I'm driving, to Burger King and I see all the high school kids. There's so many fat kids. Holy shit, all the hogs. The little piglets walking
I'm on my way to Burger King and I notice obese people
around. You can't have that. What is that? No. Consumption's bad. Yeah, exactly.
answer. I would present that answer to Democrats.
Even elementary school. You see all the little piglets walking home from school. You shouldn't be 170 pounds if you're in 4th grade. That's too much. Stop eating food. They eat too much. Yes.
Well, stop eating so much calorie-rich food. There's just a lot of sugar. In the foods that we eat.
And you have physical education become mandatory. JFK actually had a national mandate for exercising our youth. His speech even speaks to it, and about not being right seeing a chubby child. I completely agree with that. I do, 100%. And I think also it's going to help. So the issue is that being fat and being unhealthy is something that causes secondary effects and tertiary effects as well. So basically there's this second order effect of being fat that now you have low self-esteem. And then the third order effect of now you have depression because girls don't want to talk to you because you're fat. So if RFK puts your fat ass on a treadmill and you're not fat and you look normal, well then maybe they'd be wanting to talk to you. You wouldn't have as much depression. You wouldn't feel upset and everything would be fine. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, you have less incels.
What we do is we pump, like we do with fluoride, we pump Ozempic in the water supply, right? You see where I'm going with this?
I am the one that saved Obamacare. I will say, and I did the
He says, what do you mean, Why would you say,
right thing. I could have done the more political thing and killed it. And all I had to do is starve it to death.
You did try to have your Justice Department effectively kill it, though,
No.
sir.
Kill it.
Oh, and then another thing is that for all school meals, meat only. You have
get the Jordan Peterson diet.
hamburgers on Mondays and Thursdays. You have chicken on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And then on Friday, you got steak.
That's right.
Vegans, as I said, meat only. We want people to be healthy.
That's right.
Maybe you can make a garden out in the back for the rabbits or something, and then the vegans can go out there. Maybe have fish. Yeah, fish alternative. Meat every day. That's the way it is. What about fish? Fish is fine.
From a legal standpoint, but from a physical standpoint, I made it work.
In your concepts of a plan, sir, will people with pre-existing conditions still have coverage, and can you guarantee their prices will not go up?
The answer is yes. They'll have coverage. You have to have it.
And what about their
Because
prices?
you know what?
What about their prices, sir?
I want the prices to go down. I want to have better health care for less money. And there are ways of doing it, I believe. And I
You have to take out the middlemen that are making money off of it for no reason. I mean, I got to say, Luigi was right with that. Healthcare insurance is a scam. It shouldn't exist. I think you shouldn't shoot the people that work there, but he was Right. He's completely right.
I have the smartest people in that world. You know, that's a separate world.
He was wrong about the market cap for United CEO. He was saying, I think they had the 4th highest market cap in the entire country, and that's not true.
To itself. I have the smartest people in that world looking at it and trying. And if they come up with something, I will present it. Now, maybe you won't be able to sell it, but if we get better health care for less money, I believe it's very saleable.
Just very quickly, when will we see your fully developed plan? When are you going to show
I don't know
the
that you'll
public
see it at all. I can only say that we have some of the best healthcare people. I've always
That's reassuring.
tinkered with it. I think it's a little hard to explain. Obamacare, when I took it over, was a disaster. And I made it
It has insured
workable.
20 million people.
Yeah, because of me.
50.
Because of me.
Oh, man. Jesus.
If you look at what I did, I was
You
the
tried
one.
to-
I made it good.
You
yeah,
tried to
legally.
repeal and replace it. You tried to
because
kill
if I
it,
repealed
sir.
it,
So epic. So epic that we get a guy that just lies his ass off. Man, he owned her. He handed her an L. She took the L. She took the L on this one. Yeah, man.
and replaced it, we would have had a better system because we wouldn't have had health care. And the Democrats would have been forced to do something. If we wouldn't have had it, the Democrats would have been forced to do something that they wouldn't do if we have it.
Yep.
What are you saying yep to? What are you saying yep to right now? What are you affirming? I don't understand. I don't understand any of this. Oh my God. Oh boy. Oh boy. Boys, it's going to be, and girls, it's going to be a long 4 years, man. It's going to be, just buckle up, okay? Get ready. Because this shit's about to get stupid. We are about to get stupid up in this country, you guys. Oh boy.
Insurance companies fine. They just need regulation. In Europe, you have it, and they basically can't deny
Just think of the content, Hutch. Listen, I got to tell you, cold comfort, all right?
anything. Hospital deals with them directly. You never hear anything about it. It's just like utilities. Yeah, maybe that'd be a better solution. Yeah, sure.
What did he say? I didn't even...
Basically can't deny anything. Hospital deals...
If we have it.
Yep. Insurance companies fine. They just need regulation. In Europe, you have it, and they basically can't deny anything. Hospital deals with them directly. You never hear anything about it. It's just like utilities. Yeah, maybe that'd be a better solution. Yeah, sure. It was a disaster because of Obama. Saved 20 million because of him. This guy's dope. Yeah, for sure. So, Wade, want to say conten's been great lately? Thanks, man. Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh God. We're so cooked. Oh my God. It's so bad. It's so bad.
Obamacare really that bad? It helped me a lot when I needed coverage. Obamacare had a lot of good things, like, for example, how you couldn't deny people for pre-existing conditions. The thing is that a lot of people, it was so long ago now, people don't remember how much of trouble it was for people to get healthcare coverage when you could deny them based off of pre-existing conditions. So it's kind of like an issue where basically, so it increased the cost because obviously, like, the reason why they okay, so let me take a step back. How do insurance companies make money? They make money by averaging against actuarial tables, which are basically degrees of risk. They look at somebody's age, they look at all of their demographics, and then they have a calculator for how much money this person will probably cost. So basically, when you have to add in people that are really big draws on that. So like, for example, you add in somebody who's disabled, right? Somebody has cerebral palsy, for example. This is going to massively increase the average. So if you have an average of people that are relatively healthy, you can afford to keep your premiums lower and maintain the same profit, right? And so
The Affordable Care Act eliminated the need for high-risk pools by prohibiting insurers from medical underwriting, which screen people for pre-existing conditions and charged them more or denied them coverage based on their health status. Like, the ACA addressed these risk pools, and the piece of legislation that the Republicans introduced in 2017 when Trump was sworn in to replace the ACA reintroduced those risk pools. He's talking about a system that was in place before the ACA.
Again, the profit, you could say, is the problem, but this is a for-profit company, so we're just going to assume that that's what's going to happen. And so what happens is that the insurance companies, what they do is they effectively try to take the people out of the system that would cost a lot of money. Because like these are the people, the extremes that raise everybody else's costs up. And so that's what the insurance companies used to do. And then they became compelled to have to give them insurance anyway.
Oh, never mind. Okay, you got there.
Which is how it should have been. Oh. Bro. He's not even the president. He's doing this.
Wait, you were going to talk about the bad things about the ACA, right?
State 51. It was a pleasure to have dinner the other night with Governor Justin Trudeau of the great state of Canada. Jesus, how's he posting this much? America's, oh boy. God.
Let's talk about Project 2025. This is the conservative policy.
Wait, you were going to get into like why the ACA was bad? Okay, whatever.
Blueprint. You disavowed it during the campaign. You called it a product of the radical right.
Yeah.
You've said some of their ideas were abysmal.
I said some of it is. Some of it is very...
I love how he gets elected. I never said... Of course we're going to do Project 2025. Yeah, I mean, duh.
Very good. Some of it's very mainstream, actually. Frankly, the Democrats should have used some of it because they went, you know, with all the transgender that they were doing and with the men playing in women's sports, if they wouldn't have done that, maybe they would have done better.
Well,
Trump's right. He's completely right. This was a huge wedge issue with a lot of people because it was a direct insult to people's intelligence.
There were trans people competing in sports when Donald Trump was president. You know, we have laws on the books. You can't discriminate, right?
So you take me to my question. You're now giving people involved in Project 2025 prominent roles in your administration. Are you changing your mind about Project 2025? Is this now the policy blueprint for the second Trump administration?
Some people, if you take a look at the group, it was hundreds of people were involved. And I was actually, I reprimanded the whole group. I said, you shouldn't have placed this document in front of the voters because I have nothing to do with it and I'm the one that's running. You had no right to do this where you put a 1,000-page document in front, and many of those things I disagree with. Now, many of those things I happen to agree with. Many of those things Democrats should have agreed to, and I think they would have done much better in the election because they got slaughtered.
Well, I guess people see the list: Russ Vought, Brendan Carr, Peter Navarro, John Ratcliffe, Pete Hoekstra, Monica Crowley.
The inventor has some intentions. Yeah, it's pretty obvious, you know, that she's not a fan of Trump. Yeah.
They think these.
This is such a softball interview. She could have gone so much harder on him. She's not pressing him. It's obvious that she's pulling punches to maintain access. It's such a softball interview, and they're interpreting her as though she's being like super hostile. This is what a journalist's job is. A journalist's job is to ask like difficult questions, to ask clarifying questions, to extract information. That's their job. What are they supposed to do?
These are all of the people who were involved in or writing Project 2025. This must be a blueprint for work requirements, eliminating the Head Start program, criminalizing pornography. Is that what we can expect to see?
Well, I don't know how they voted. I don't know. I never spoke to them actually about it. And I purposely, and I told you, normally it would be just the opposite. I'd review every page. I purposely didn't even want to see it. Because when somebody like you asked me a question about Project 2025, I can honestly say I've never seen it. I have nothing to do with it. I didn't read it, but I
believe that. I don't think he read it. I don't think he did. Does anybody actually think he read it? Of course not.
I did hear some things in there that I would totally disagree with. Yeah. And I said to the people that were really the people behind it, you know who those people are? I said, you really had no right doing this to me, because they used it as a soundbite, the Democrats. And I don't know, it couldn't have been too effective because they got slaughtered, but they did use it as a soundbite.
But to people who see, oh, he's bringing in all of these people from Project 2025, he must know what it is.
Well, you know, what? I don't know what it is, no. I don't know what it is.
Why the here's the reason why. Is like, I'm sure there's something, if it's a 1,000-page document, there's probably something in Project 2025 that I agree with. But like, it doesn't mean I agree with everything. It's like you can't look at an idea and be like, okay, well, you have a shopping basket full of ideas. You have to take the entire.
It was a Heritage Foundation. So the Heritage Foundation, before every election, they write what's called a mandate for leadership. And it's basically like what they would do if they were in charge. and they make these suggestions to the incoming GOP president. Last time around, Donald Trump pursued, I think, 2 out of 3 items in the mandate for leadership in 2016. Mandate for leadership in 2024, they called it Project 2025, but they've been doing this kind of thing, this initiative for every single president in modern history. And again, he pursued majority of the things that were in their mandate in 2016. So 2020 Project 2025 was particularly deranged, very extreme. We're talking about gutting the administrative state, replacing it with Trump loyalists, banning porn, like this kind of shit. And so people had a right to be concerned. People had every right to be concerned that he was going to let these religious fanatics influence his administration.
Higher basket and take everything at the same time. No, there are ideas that exist independently, and if this is a good idea, then do it. If it's not, then don't. It's very simple.
You still don't know
but
what
I
it is?
heard
All these
certain
people
things
are
that I
coming
didn't
in from
like.
your-
And by the way,
Yeah.
I heard certain things that are phenomenal. Okay?
Like what?
Well,
Like law and order. We want law and order. Okay? Little things like, let's put prisoners in jail. Let's not let people come out and raid every drugstore in Manhattan so that we have to put glass up and every store is going out of business.
I think a lot of people agree with that. I mean, I know I do. I think that the majority of people agree with that.
That wasn't what Project 2025 was.
Is that not already the law? No, it's not. Well, I mean, so basically they did this for a while. I don't know if they still are doing it, where basically they said that if you stole something of less of, I think it was $1,000, they weren't going to go after you. So that's what it
was. $900. In the state that he lives in, Texas, their threshold is $2,500. In Texas, they won't pursue felony charges unless the thing that you stole was over $2,500. So in Texas, it's actually much worse than California.
It was enforce the law. Yeah, right. And this is why, a lot of the stores now, I mean, I swear to God, I mean, the jewelry stores have less security than a CVS in some of these photos I see. I'll be right back.
You guys want to watch the Game Awards for a little bit?